What's up everyone, Dr. Jacob Wilson here. Today we got a really cool topic. A lot of people have asked me about the HMB study. Well, guess what? Recently, Dr. Ryan Lowry had me in an interview where I addressed all the questions on HMB. Check it out right here. If you want to see the entire interview with Ryan Lowry's take also on ketogenic dieting, as well as the HMB interview, go to Dr. Ryan Lowry's channel on YouTube. Hello everyone, it's great to be here today. Thanks Dr. Ryan Lowry for having me on. Ryan's a really good friend. One of the, red herrings or ad hominem attacks that Lane has in this video is essentially calling out the HMB study, which quite frankly has nothing to do with the original argument. However, what I am going to do is address it today. The first thing Lane says is that he put out a publication in Journal of Strength Conditioning Research basically calling out our HMB research, and I saw it and we responded to the editor and said, we have already addressed all these concerns in our previous publication, which was a response to a critique in the European Journal of Applied Physiology. So we had already, we had already addressed all of these questions. So what we did was we told the authors to please refer to the original arguments that we made because they addressed all the questions. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and verbally respond to each of these arguments today. And what I'm going to essentially do is address what Lane says. Lane says, I think that the HMB study is bullshit. This is what he says. That's the first argument he makes. The second argument he makes is that our study was better than steroids. In other words, the results of HMB or a combination of HMB and ATP are better than steroids. What I'm going to demonstrate today is this. Number one, that our study with HMB was actually a replication of a previous study. So in other words, we didn't find anything new. We actually replicated a previous study, a very powerful study that actually found better results than we did. Second, what I'm going to demonstrate is that even before our studies were done, numerous other studies found similar results that we have found. And what I'm going to do is, in order to compare studies, you essentially need to standardize those studies. So sometimes studies are 10 weeks long, sometimes studies are 12 weeks long, sometimes studies are 6 weeks long. So we'll standardize it as in gains of lean mass per week. So for example, our HMB study found 0.61 kilograms of lean mass gain per week. Okay? And so we'll standardize that and compare that to all other studies. And you'll see that several other studies have found what we found. Then I'm going to show brand new data from our lab, and I'm going to show original scans that demonstrate the same thing that we found in our study. And I'll actually take you through all 13 subject scans. And then finally, what I'm actually going to do is this. I'm going to address Lane's steroid argument. He essentially pulls up a study from Basin in 1996 as a study which is supposed to demonstrate the powerful impact of steroids. What I'm going to show is that that study is not how normal people in the real world utilize these types of ergogenic aids, and I'm going to show how suboptimal the training protocol is, and that the subjects were older, a lot older than the people in our subject. So you can't compare it. It's comparing apples to oranges. So with that, let's get into it. As I stated, our study is actually a replication of another study. So what I'm going to do is compare our Wilson 2014 HMB study, which didn't have any significant differences between our HMB and ATP. So it's perfectly fine to use as analysis, and that's where the major arguments come. So Wilson et al. 2014, and I'm going to compare that to a study that was done before this. And this was by Kramer et al. 2009. We're going to actually list out a table here, and we're going to compare every single variable in the study. And you're going to see that you see the same results in the same study design. So let's look at the age in Kramer's study. Kramer, 17 healthy males, aged 22.9 years of age. Our people, 11 healthy males, aged 21.6 years of age. Okay? No differences. Length of study, 12 weeks in the Kramer study, 12 weeks in our study. Type of periodization, we had a daily undulated periodized program where essentially we did alternated heavy, moderate, and light loads, and we trained every body part 3 times a week. Kramer, same exact thing. In fact, we modified our training protocol from Kramer's originally daily undulating program. Diet, they were 20% protein, 45 to 55% carbs, 30% fat. We were 22% protein, 45% carbohydrate, and 33% fat, right? Diet controlled, no differences in diet. Supplementation, our main ingredient was HMB. Their main ingredient was HMB. They had calcium HMB, we had HMB free acid, okay? We had slightly more trained people, so we included an overreaching protocol, which essentially intensified the study. Kramer did not include that, but we used that to equate for slight training status. Training experience, okay? Kramer had recreationally trained people. The squat, 1.2 times their body weight. Bench press, 1 times body weight. Ours, squat 1.7 times body weight. Bench press was nearly identical, 1.3 times body weight. So not that much difference in training status. Muscle damage, both of us looked at creatine kinase, which is a measure of muscle damage throughout the study. Basically, muscle damage was high throughout each of the studies. The outcome, Kramer got actually way higher gains than we did, 0.77 kilograms of lean body mass gain per week. We saw 0.61 kilograms of lean body mass per week. Okay, so basically you see the same outcome, same study design. But let's go to this. Basically, I've already demonstrated now that the study that we did was a replication of Kramer's. So to claim that our study is, like Lane says, bullshit, would be to also lend yourself to saying that Kramer's study was also bullshit. However, let's review Kramer. William J. Kramer, Dr. Kramer, has literally established himself in many eyes as being the #1 strength and conditioning scientist in the history of our field. Probably done more strength and conditioning studies than anyone in the history of our field. Former past president of NSCA and co-founder of NSCA, and won every single award a sports scientist could have received in our field. But let's take a look and see what he's actually done in his field by comparing them to 2 people who have done research in the field. Since this is really Lane and I talking to each other, let's go ahead and actually show, for example, look at ResearchGate. Go to researchgate.com, look up Dr. Jacob Wilson, and look up Dr. Lane Norton, okay? Let's look at our research publications. As you can see in the graph, Lane, 19 research publications on ResearchGate, me nearly 160. 2013 Young Investigator of the Year Award. Won numerous other research awards, and have several of my papers have been published hundreds of times. So here's a comparison of someone who's done a lot of research, someone who's done research who's primarily a coach. Let's look at William Kramer's. Look at this comparison. William Kramer, over 1,000 publications on ResearchGate, right? Clearly, this is an individual who has contributed a massive amount to the literature and has done a tremendous amount of research study. So if he does a study, that's something that you can trust. We only replicated it. But you know what? Let's take both of our studies, let's set them aside for a second, and let's actually analyze other data, okay, in the literature. And again, what we're going to look at is gains in lean mass per week in their studies. And I'm going to take you through a series of individuals, and you're going to see what they actually found. Let's start with Jalko et al. In 2001. He and his group observed 0.8 kilograms per week lean mass in participants consuming HMB and creatine. Burke et al. In 2001 actually observed 0.67 kilograms of lean body mass per week in subjects consuming an amino acid and protein-based supplement. Moreover, with only para-workout nutrition, Willoughby in 2007 found 5.6 kilograms per week in 10 weeks' time. Okay, that's only with adding whey protein. Basically found very similar gains to what we found in HMB. Additionally, it's important to note that diet alone, just diet alone, independent of training, can have a robust effect on gains in lean mass. For example, Forbes and Pasquette actually found that 0.1 and 0.6 kilograms in lean body mass increases just by overfeeding alone. Just by overfeeding alone, anywhere from 0.6 to 0.81. That's just by diet, not even training. So therefore what we can do is we can assume that there's a rate of 0.6 to 0.76 kilograms of lean body mass per week could occur just by exercise and training alone. But that is just the beginning. People talk about training status, right? Like, well, with high training status, you can't gain a lot of lean mass. Well, Stone, Dr. Stone, is one of the greatest scientists of all time in any field, and he actually conducted research in 1999, and these scientists actually introduced a periodized program, a nutritional supplement, and they had individuals who were NCAA athletes, football athletes, who weighed 76 kilograms. That's 10 more kilograms than our subjects weighed, and they're far more trained than our subjects, right? He took these individuals and put them on a periodized training program. He got 1.06 kilograms per week lean body mass gains. That's 5.3 kilograms in 5 weeks, which far exceeds the rate of lean mass in both our study and Kramer's study. And these are athletes more trained than pretty much anyone else in the literature. So so if we were to actually sum this up, because basically one of the things you can look at is, well, does rate of lean mass change from low weeks, say 3 to 12? Does it change from low training status to high training status? Not really. If you look at all the studies I presented, you see homogeneous across the board. So research has shown comparable rates of lean body mass gain from training has occurred across a variety of periods from 3 weeks at 0.8 kilograms per week, 5 to 6 weeks at 0.7 to 1.06 kilograms per week, and upwards of 9 to 12 weeks of 0.6 to 0.76 kilograms per week, all within the realm of the data that we found. Training status also doesn't appear to blunt the capacity to significantly increase lean body mass. For example, if you look at untrained to recreationally trained people, in the studies I presented, you see 0.6 to 0.76 kilograms of lean body mass gained. And if you look at elite athletes, you see 0.61 to 1.06 kilograms per week gained. Nutrition, even without training, also has an impact from 0.61 to 0.8 kilograms per week. So again, I've shown over and over again that you have this homogeneous response, or not homogeneous, but you have essentially several studies which have found what we found. What we found is not unique. It's the power of social media and creating these things that blows things out of proportion, when in reality, we've just found what other scientists have already found. But guess what? One of the advantages that we have at Applied Science and Performance Institute is that we do have a 21,000 square foot elite facility. We have the best research equipment in the world and some of the top training staff in the world, and we work with some of the top athletes in the world. What I'm going to show you is new data. This is from essentially a 2017 study that we did, or essentially we had NCAA athletes and they were prepping for the NFL Combine, okay? So their starting lean mass was 78 kilograms. So these athletes, you don't find in the literature. You have to realize that essentially most scientists study convenient populations, right? We had the MVP for the World Series training at ASPI, right? Yesterday we had the fastest man in the world training at ASPI. We've had the top 10 wide receivers this year in the NFL training at ASPI. Like we have an advantage. We deal with these high-level populations. Because again, remember, people say training status. If you're too trained, you can't make gains. Okay, we had a group of 13 NCAA athletes, 78 kilograms in lean body mass. What I'm going to show you is their overall gains in lean body mass, right? You'll see a graph, and you're going to see a line with our results on lean body mass per week with our HMB study. And each individual dot that you see are individual subjects who prep for the combine over our actual time that they train with us. Okay? And what they did was they trained for 6 weeks. So what you're going to see is, here's the data. Notice that the majority of those individuals gained more or as much lean mass as our HMB study when you look at this graph. Now, Lane might go, oh, well, it's easy. Those guys, their data's bullshit. Okay. Let's just look at the original scans of each of these individuals and look at their rate of lean body mass per week. Okay? So the first subject that we're going to pull up here, athlete 1, 0.51 kilograms lean body mass per week. All right? This next individual, 0.9 kilograms lean body mass gain per week. This person started off at 96 kilograms of lean mass. Way higher than anyone in the literature. But he still gained 0.9 kilograms per week. Next individual, this individual was 93 kilograms starting, gained 0.66 kilograms per week. Next, athlete, 0.78 kilograms per week. Here's the original scan. Next original scan. This individual actually gained 0.78 kilograms per week. Again, original scan. If you want to come to our facility and look at our DEXA, happy to show you. Next individual, 0.48 kilograms per week lean body mass gain. Next individual, 0.63 kilograms lean body mass gain per week. Next, 0.8 kilograms lean body mass per week. 0.56 kilograms gain per week. The next subject, 0.55 kilograms gain per week. The next subject, 0.88 kilograms gain per week. Original scanned. This person was 66 kilograms starting, ended at 71.08. Next subject, athlete 12, 0.85 kilograms lean body mass gain per week. And the final one, athlete 13, 0.56 kilograms lean body mass gain per week. So the overall gain in lean mass from these athletes who had way greater training status and more muscle than anyone in the literature literally gained 0.7 kilograms of lean body mass per week in our laboratory, and that's live original scans. So I've definitively showed numerous studies. I've shown our studies a replication of another study, and then I showed you individual scans completely defeating the argument that trained people can't make gains. The last thing I'm going to address is Lane says HMB is as good as steroids. Okay, so Lane claims this based on a study by Basin in 1996. This is one of the few studies that's actually given supraphysiological doses of anabolic steroids. What I'm going to demonstrate is that this study does not replicate real-world steroid use, and it did not use optimal training, and it did not use optimal nutrition. And the subject population was likely not optimal as well. So let's summarize what these guys found. They found that subjects gained 0.61 kilograms of lean body mass per week over a 10-week period. They gave individuals essentially 600 milligrams per week, so it's about 3 times more than replacement doses of testosterone and enanthate. So it's a long-lasting, essentially, ester of testosterone. The administration schedule, what I'm going to say, does not follow real-world scenarios, as testosterone and enanthate has a half-life of about 7 days. So users will typically oftentimes administer testosterone 2 times per week, and they'll stack it with other drugs, which I'll detail shortly using research that's actually looked into this. Okay, but using the knowledge of the half-life of testosterone and enanthate, I'm going to actually show you basically a table of what because they measure testosterone before and at the end of the study. But if you look at the half-life in testosterone, and you look at this table and the remainder of testosterone that would be in your blood via the next injection time point, what you'll actually see is that likely peak values of testosterone wouldn't occur in the blood until 5 weeks into the study anyway. So that's why no one in the real world who's taking steroids are going to take a slow-acting testosterone and not stack it with something else that's going to start giving them immediate benefits. It's not real world, and I'll show you that in other research. So these people didn't even reach peak values until 5 weeks into the study. So that's the first flaw. Okay? Let's also look at this. Let's think of the actual training protocol that they did. These individuals did bench press and squat only. Bench press and squat only. And they did 4 sets of 6 reps. They never changed the rep scheme at all. They varied between 80%, 70%, and 90% of their 1RM. Which, by the way, there's no way that's correct, that you are able to lift 4x6 at 90% at that training status. So they really probably should recheck the 1RM. But again, no variation in rep scheme. No variation in rep scheme. And if you look, periodizing rep scheme and actually including a combination of high reps and low reps results in greater muscle mass gains than one single repetition range. So we're talking about a non-periodized study that never changed the reps up. That is not ideal for hypertrophy, okay? Unlike the studies I mentioned before, which is Kramer, Stone, Wilson, all of us adjusted loads, adjusted repetitions to maximize hypertrophy. Next, while Basin did control for diet, his protein intake was probably suboptimal. He had 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight on protein intake. Willoughby actually did a study in 2011. He gave 2.3 grams per kilogram of body weight, and he resulted in almost identical gains in lean mass over the 10 weeks as Basin actually did. Think about that for a second. Literally, Willoughby found the exact same results in 10 weeks giving whey protein as Basin did over 10 weeks giving steroids. Okay? Furthermore, Pasquet found that overfeeding subjects with a diet containing 3.3 grams of protein per kilogram body weight gained 5.3 kilograms in 9 weeks. From Lane's logic, we can conclude that whey protein is as good as steroids and overfeeding is as good as steroids. Or we can take a more pragmatic approach and assume that individuals in the Willoughby study had a greater training stimulus by one of the top strength training guys actually who are out there, and had greater protein intake and used subjects that were young, whereas the people in the Basin study were at the lower end of middle age. You can't compare the two. Can't compare training stimulus, suboptimal intake of steroids that's used in the real world, suboptimal protein intake, horrible training stimulus. Now, I've also already mentioned that Basin's testosterone administration does not match real-world athletes. Think about this. A study by Hoffman polled people who utilize steroids that are athletes. Typical users administer 3.1 agents, not one, 3.1, and they give an average dose of 5 to 29 times physiological doses. 5 to 29 times with 3 agents. Basin subjects took 1 agent dose at 3 times replacement doses. You cannot compare our study to people who use steroids in the real world. Okay? In addition, people in the real world also ingest things like creatine and higher protein intakes along with their steroids. Okay? So again, the main point, and also it's funny because several studies have shown no lean body mass gains when administering anabolic steroids, so therefore you could say under certain conditions, anything's more beneficial than steroids. My biggest point is you can't use one single study under one isolated condition that's suboptimal and then say that's the standard for gaining mass. What I'm going to do now, lastly, is show 2 case reports. These were individuals who were reportedly using anabolic compounds that are more realistic. The first case report I'm going to show you is a national level physique athlete, and this individual used 4 agents for a total of 1,630 to 850 milligrams per week. The athlete used high volume training. In fact, it was 30 to 40 sets per week, and moderate intensity training 2 to 3 times a week. This individual, who was using more realistic version of anabolics, actually gained 12.1 kilograms of lean body mass in 5 weeks. 12.1 kilograms in 5 weeks, okay? That's 2.3 kilograms per week, and lost body fat. Here is the original scan so you could see it. So they went from 69 kilograms to 81 kilograms, and then they backed off their usage, and they went down to 77 kilograms. And they lost body fat. Again, they went from 69 to 81 kilograms of lean mass in 5 weeks. That's a real-world result that you could see, but you can't test that in the literature. You can only look at a case report for that. The next case report, which we're going to be publishing, is a national-level powerlifter administering 3 agents for a total dosage of 910 milligrams. This individual gained 3.8 kilograms of lean body mass in 14 days. That's almost 4 kilograms in 14 days, or 1.9 kilograms per week. And then here again, you see their original results. Okay, the gains that they made. So conclusions, our study in HMB replicated training protocols that are similar to Kramer and similar in several other studies. The HMB versus steroids discussion is out of the window of comparison because you had a subpar study that you're comparing it to. So I think that's the main points that I want to get across. And again, I appreciate Dr. Larry for bringing me on. Good times.